Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're in Nedarim, page 71, which continues along the theme that when a woman who is at the stage of a naira, which is a young woman who has underwent the status of erison, which is the first of the stages of marriage, at that point we say that if she would make a vow that both the father and the husband together, in order for that vow to be removed, they both must annul that vow. If only one of them does so, then it doesn't work. Also, the Torah tells us that this right that they have is only on that day, only the day that they actually heard about it. Now in this, the Talmud gives a fascinating and perhaps unusual situation where when it comes to a woman who makes this vow at this state, and then she gets divorced also on that day. So the question is, do we say that if she would decide to get remarried and get engaged on that all same day, a lot happening on that one day, that does the new husband have the same rights as the first? Namely, just like the first husband, together with the father, are able to annul her vow, do we say that this law also applies when it comes to the next husband? And on this, the Talmud says yes, it's true. Even when it comes to a vow that was said at the time that she was engaged, let's call it engaged, to this first man, and the first man doesn't do anything. He may have known about it, but he didn't do anything about this vow. I guess he divorced her, that's doing something. And then immediately afterwards, she gets engaged to another person. All of the laws that took place for the first man and regarding to this are transferred over to the second man. And therefore we say that even here the second husband has these same rights, and therefore he has the ability together with the father to be able to annul and to remove these vows. So again, although a lot of times the Talmud mentions cases in which one could say this makes no sense. There's no way you're going to have a woman that's going to make a vow and get divorced and then marry a different person on that same day. Not only that, but the Talmud even says that afil lameya, even to 100. In other words, she gets divorced and remarries 100 times to 100 different men. On this, the Talmud says that the last one has the rights to annul. Now, on the most novice level, a person could read this and say, this is silly because there's no way that we could find a woman or the 100th man willing to marry her all on the same day. So we have to understand when the Talmud teaches us these cases, it's not because it's telling us that this could ever happen, but it's just trying to illustrate a point. It's trying to illustrate that the last husband has the same rights as the first husband. It doesn't mean in an emotional state that any human being is going to go through what this case mentions. It's impractical, and it's probably ill-advised for a person to want to do such a thing, getting divorced and remarried 100 times. But a lot of times the Talmud mentions cases not to tell us that just in case this exact scenario happens, but it's just to illustrate another point. And this is why when a person learns Talmud, it helps us understand things more than just the basic face value. If a person just looks at something by face value, sometimes you're missing out on what's really behind the scenes, the deeper meaning, the greater understanding. And the person who studies the Talmud, as we're doing, gives that individual a better understanding, not just for studying the Talmud, but also whenever you hear something, whenever you see something, not to always take it just for face value, and sometimes then to reject it on its face, to say this is preposterous, this is impossible, this is silly, but to understand the real message behind what's being said.